Hello everybody, this is Geek Ed, but we're back, and we are going to talk today about Dungeons and Dragons. We hope that everyone here is going to understand at least a little bit of what we're discussing about. If you
Come
don't,
on, guy. Come on. Who's going to be interested in talking about that? On a geek website, of all things. Come on.
Dungeons and Dragons. Let's talk about that.
I can cope.
But let's start off with just a brief recap of what Peter and I did this weekend. We went to LumCon 3. Peter, what did you think?
I thought 7 and 9 was really quite cute.
That's a long time talking to that girl.
Yeah, she was good at sales. I don't know. I may have bought things I don't remember. Very
Things. Your wallet got lighter and your bag got heavier.
That's just what happened on the day anyway.
So that
it was
your
a lot of fun though.
7 of 9 and had a good chat for about an hour.
If you say so. It felt like 10 minutes.
It was a lot longer than 10 minutes. But we also met George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, for all of 5 seconds.
We shook his hand.
Yeah.
I know. I wish he would have given us a bit more, but maybe he just had a bad day. I don't know.
I honestly wanted a chance to chat to him, so I could explain to him that I prefer the TV show to the books.
Don't do things like that.
I think even though he's short and you're quite tall, he would have still tried to punch you.
Yeah. I got punched by George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, would you
So Sheldon in Big Bang Theory. I've got a restraining order from Stan Lee. Woo!
Well, considering they have to sign it.
I don't know whether he'd leave a bruise though. He's pretty short and a little bit soft around the edges. I don't know whether it'd been too hard a punch.
I've been kicked in the face by a 7th-degree black belt before. I think I'd be okay.
Yeah, I think he'd be alright. Maybe. More likely he'll put you into he'd just put you into a book to execute you in the most visceral way possible.
Yeah.
You'd probably just
I'm
get
okay with that.
found.
Yeah, at the same time, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, except, yes, I honestly think the TV show is better than the books.
Maybe that's the theme for another episode where you can get hit on.
It's only one of 2 things where I think that's the case. The other one being Kick-Ass.
Really? You prefer the movie to the comic?
I much prefer the movie.
Okay, what about the second one?
I haven't read the second Kick-Ass book.
Okay, well,
I have no desire to either.
compared to the movie, the comic for the second one was much better.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing I disliked about the first comic was just how much crap he got for no good reason. But I've written a whole essay about that.
Is it already online, or have we published it yet?
No, I'm still editing it. It's basically my thesis as to why realism is not the same thing as having crap happen to your characters.
Oh, okay, another realism one. Because your last realism blog was pretty good.
I like to think so. But yeah, it's basically explaining my feelings as to, you know how they say, actually, you know what, I'll just edit it, read the damn essay.
It'll be on our blog in a couple of days or a week.
Monday, I reckon.
Monday, that sounds fair. Magnus, what have you been doing?
The reason why I couldn't attend the LumCon was because I had my 16th birthday and my family wanted me home. But pretty much I've just been ordering and playing PC games at the moment. I just pre-ordered. I just pre-ordered Shadow of Mordor, so I'm now waiting for October the 1st. I just bought Dishonored, but I've been playing a lot of League of Legends at the moment. What else? Gary's mod, Counter-Strike. Lots of
Nice.
Counter-Strike at the moment.
Yeah, I try playing anything more intense than Minecraft on my computer, and it tries to have a fit.
Always does.
I mean, literally, it has a fit and explodes. I need a new computer.
Don't we all? I think that's why I stick to my Xbox, because my PC is not good enough to run games on at the moment, so I'm sticking with the Xbox and wanting to upgrade onto the new one.
Yeah.
This is why I stick to GeoGeek.com. Games from 20 years ago are so good. They are so
And
good.
they take nothing to run.
But yeah, they run.
This game is
They run
10
in browser.
megabytes. I think the original Civilization is like 50 megabytes at most.
Yeah, tops.
It's tiny, but
Yeah.
so much more fun.
Well, let's move into our main discussion. Dungeons and Dragons. Now,
Woo!
yeah. Peter and I, well, Peter, I'd probably say out of all of us, Peter is the veteran RPGer. You've been playing for quite a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, I first started playing semi-regular occasionally with games when I was about 14.
Yeah.
I started with 40k, Warhammer 40k, bit of Warhammer, bit of the RPGs associated with them, played D&D for a year or so with a few friends, and then the last like 4 years again have been very regularly playing a lot with some people I met online.
That's cool.
Oh, sweet.
It was actually really cool. I was living in Warwick at the time. I just Googled roleplay groups, and there they were. And it was like, okay. Started going on Wednesday nights, and then regularly played in games with a couple of the guys there. And then he said, you know what? We're doing extra games around my place on Friday, and now that's my gaming night.
Fair play. I wish I had that. I'll have to check if there's anything down where I am.
Yeah, look for it. It's great.
You could do it with your young man guy.
I've got a couple of guys that we play on the Xbox a lot, but we don't do much role playing.
True.
Real gaming has dice.
Huh?
Real games have dice.
It's true. The best games do have dice. I was regularly playing when I was in secondary school. For about the age of 14, I played nearly every week because we had a teacher that was obsessed with D&D, and he would let us Skype lessons just to play it with him.
Wow.
I know.
Teachers would get in trouble for that now.
He did leave. Well, he was invited to leave eventually, but not before years of abusing the system like crazy.
Wow. Worse than any of my teacher ever did was make drugs.
Second.
I mean, none of my teachers ever made or sold drugs. Ever. With my help. Ever.
So I guess it's down to me now, but
Yeah.
I've been playing D&D quite frequent now. Not to like a super detailed extent. We just keep it simple. But I have 5 friends. Connor being the dungeon master for us, so I have 5 friends. There's 6 of us, and we kind of try and do a D&D session every month, every 3 weeks, every month or so. And I used to never play it, but then I was able to buy the rule books for myself, and because I play it so frequently, it's quite worth the money.
You know, that's a pretty good size. I'd say, kind of based on our experience, first question is, if you are going to be playing, how big a group do you want, really? Because I've played in games where you had 9 players. I played in games where there were 3 of us, including the DM.
Wow. Yeah, I've done that. I've did that with my...
9? That is so hard.
Yes.
So that takes so long for one turn.
Yeah, it does.
Well, whatever game you play, I mean, this is where I say the mildly controversial thing that I seem to do a lot. Mechanically, D&D sucks.
again, it's a problem with role-playing tabletop games in general. There's no way to streamline thought processes and trying to visualize what you're doing.
No, I don't even mean that it is doing that. I don't mean that it's slow or anything like that. I mean, mechanically, it's crap.
But it's fun, so it's worth it.
4th edition D&D is so terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't just say this because I'm a snob who started playing 2nd edition. My first D&D game was 3.5. I'm not one of those super old school guys.
I
But
was 3.5. I started back in the day.
I mean, I honestly think it sucks, but that's for later. I mean, when I've played games or run games, I find, like, for me, 4 or 5 players plus the DM generally seems to work out best.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Like we've played games together where there've been there was 4 of us, and then I was the DM.
Yeah.
I think 4, maybe 5, but I think 4 is probably the best number.
It's an easy number to work with, especially when if you've got the right team balancing everyone out, then you're just about okay.
Yeah. I think D&D, it's probably a harsher number because you've got the 4 roles in D&D, don't you? You've got your controller, you've got your striker, you've got your tank, and you've got your... Oh, what's the last one? You got the damage dealer, you got the tank, you got the
Striker.
That's a striker damage dealer. Oh man, why is my brain futzing on this?
Striker, defender.
Yeah, controller.
And leader.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
So for that 4 players, that probably worked.
We somewhat did that. We had 2 strikers though, because I don't think a druid can be that great of a control. They can be, but not when you go in shapeshifting spec.
Back in the day. No, seriously, 3.5 druids were about as unbalanced a class you're ever gonna find.
They were.
They could turn to like dragons, couldn't they?
By about 12th level, I knew someone who could... I don't know how he pulled this off. He could shapeshift into a dragon form. He was casting 5th level spells. Or was it 6th? I think it was 6th level spells at that point. I don't know. I think that was a bit early for him, but he did it anyway.
Wow.
And he had every buff spell going. His familiar, some kind of a wolf, I think. His familiar, animal companion. His animal companion was a better fighter than our fighter and our barbarian put together.
Flip.
Wow. That's a big
Druids
wolf.
are overpowered. Or at least they were.
You can't do that
Yeah.
anymore.
I think the most overpowered one in 4th edition is like cleric.
Nah.
Clerics are firm. Clerics and pallies.
Paladin.
In 4th, nothing in Handbook 1 is overpowered. Nothing in Handbook 2 is too overpowered. Everything in
Handbook 3 is oh my
overpowered.
goodness. The Shard Mind race is just it wouldn't even be fun to play as one.
No. I mean, at low levels, monks are just absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I'll be honest, considering how crap they were in older editions, fair enough. But still.
It depends. If you were at a high level as a monk, then really you could do anything. But certainly for 4th edition, it made monks a bit more powerful all over.
Yeah, I think it's because in order to work right in older editions, monks needed good scores in pretty much everything except charisma.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays they only need, 3 skills. So everyone can be a bit better like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question.
In old editions, if you had the stats to be a monk, you'd be way more powerful in just about any other class anyway.
Yeah. Here's a question. Are you going to try out the new D&D edition? I've forgotten what it's called, like D&D-E.
D&D-E?
The brand new edition that they've just released.
No.
We should try it.
Why not?
Okay. There is only 1 game. Okay, 2 games I've enjoyed the crunch for. And in case you're unfamiliar, crunch just means the rules. One is Shadowrun.
I like Shadowrun.
I don't like the combat.
I like it.
But everything is about that game, I love it. And
really...
2, GURPS.
Mm-hmm.
GURPS is awesome. If you do not own GURPS, buy it now.
Buy it.
Get GURPS.
So what's GURPS about? I've never heard of GURPS.
Okay, GURPS is Generic Universal Roleplay System. So the basic version is you can apply it to any setting, any idea, and it works. And then what's really cool is there's all sorts of modules you buy for it for specific settings. So you can buy advantages, skills, rules. It's mostly built on a point-buy system for your characters. Very little randomization in that. But it's designed so that every role has value. If you have a character who has no combat potential at all, you can still be the guy who wins the campaign.
Sweet.
Compared to 4th edition D&D, where it's all about combat.
Yeah.
And the non-skills and the skills in 4th edition D&D are the most pointless, useless, pathetic, idiotic, makes no difference at all mess ever.
I don't even see the point of the skills.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems you can pass most of them.
Yeah, compare that to Shadowrun, where you have individual skills, skill blocks, synergies with ability scores as well. And the nature of rolling means an extra point in a skill makes a hell of a difference. I had this thing I set up with some guys. It was a non-combat situation. It was the most intense scene we had. There was a guy who was all about the charisma. And he was up against basically 3 brutes who could rip and limb from limb. And it was rolling against his charisma and everything. And he had just enough higher than them that he barely made it out with his life.
Okay.
Granted, to make that work, I had a bunch of great players with me. They really knew how to roleplay that stuff in. So they whiff on the diplomacy roll on it, or a charisma check on it. And they don't just, say, oh, I failed, so I say this. They would act it out properly, so that was really cool.
Okay. Which is...
Call of Cthulhu.
I've not played Call. I have played Trail of Cthulhu.
Again, they all link in basically. And basically the general rules kind of overlap, but it's just a fun game. I love the H.P. Lovecraft universe anyway, and the idea of them taking it to different scenarios and what you would like as a role player. What would you do in that situation? I find that really enjoyable.
Yeah, I killed my father.
Yeah, you had an interesting game, didn't you?
Well, that was so much fun, yeah. Essentially, we all had a friend who died. Long story short, ended up in a city of the snake people. And to escape from Narlethatep, I think it was, I cast a magic spell, which I shouldn't have done. We went upside in, traveled through, I think, the 9th dimension, which was not good for my sanity. And then we ended up at my house with my father, who I didn't like. And by this point, that one act, I went from basically a sanity of 9, so fairly stable, to a 2. So I was just like half a step away from gibbering wreck. And so I killed my father.
Such a good game. So for people that don't know about the Call of Cthulhu and Cthulhu role-playing games, that the basis of your character's actions are determined by the actions of things that happen around you and how they impact upon your sanity. So that will cause you to do many different things.
Yeah, I ended up making a deal with the evil god of the snake men to become one myself, so I could stop my party from accidentally summoning Azazoth into the world.
For those that don't understand, play the game and you will. Maybe.
Yeah, as
I hope
somebody
to
once
one
said,
day.
if at the end of a game of Cthulhu you are not gibbering wrecks and or trying to eat each other, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, so you're already there. But Magnus, what have your experiences been in D&D and role playing? Because you started relatively. You're quite a recent gamer.
Yeah. I don't do really any role playing with my friends because they didn't really look forward to the role playing. They're not really like that. But so the only role play I've really actually tried doing was when I played with you guys. So I find role play quite amusing. I think it's a lot of fun, especially when you're playing a gnome warlord with the highest charisma you can get at level 10. Oh, that was fun. Making myself butt ugly.
You got shot in the butt as well, didn't you?
Yeah, my brother shot me in the butt with a point blank with a crossbow, and then Peter gored me with his hammer.
I love it when people roll
Details.
ones. It adds such a colourful level.
That was the one where it was the dragon, right?
Yeah,
The Dragonborn.
that's the one where like you were
Yeah.
right next to the scarab lady, and you used like a thunder strike or something, and you missed,
Yeah.
and it hit me, and I was on like 5 health, and I was knocked prone. Oh my goodness, it's so crazy. I took such a big beating that
See how it
game.
happens?
Oh.
Yeah, but so we've talked a little bit about playing. Guy, you've run a few games. I know I have as well. And you've not ever run a game really, have you, Magnus?
No, I've never run a game.
So, do you ever plan to?
I'd love to, but I don't think I really have the knowledge enough of the game yet. I think I need to get into, like, I guess understand the game in more detail first.
So, Guy,
Mhm.
games you've run, what are kind of like the biggest things you want to try to avoid? Like, if you had like a top 3, do not do this when running, what would they be?
For playing or for running a game, I
For
think.
running.
First of all, first is make sure you've got a story that is extremely linear. If you've got something that's too narrow, most of the time the gamers will break it and will not do what you want.
Yes, we do. A
So
lot.
having an intricate, very narrow plot, while maybe good for writing a story, for playing a role-playing game, you've got to look at the world and imagine what could happen, because the players will not stay in one area and then do what you think that they should do. So that would be my
Try to
first
make
point.
us.
My second would be make sure you have a good variety of enemies, because it gets boring if you're trying to hit the same thing over and over and over.
That's
again.
the only problem with low levels.
It is, and
When you're in the first 5 levels, you're always fighting rats.
yeah.
On most computer games, yeah.
And
Well, I don't know.
With our games, sometimes I'll start us at like a level 10 or 11, because then at least I can throw something interesting at you.
Yeah.
I know.
I
I
just
played a level. I think we were level 2 at the start, and I had them fighting minotaurs right off the bat.
Wow.
Yeah,
I just
I just scaled down the stats.
You can do that, and I did that on quite a few of the characters that I wanted to throw at you for.
Yeah, because you didn't realise how strong they would be, wasn't it? That scarab lady was so strong.
Yeah, I didn't downgrade her enough.
And then we threw alchemist fire in her face.
Yes, you did. Eventually, you got her.
You know, when I think about it, I didn't do anything. If anything, I saved her life multiple times.
you did.
Took a shot for her.
I got gored by a blunt weapon for her.
Yeah, how the hell did I stab you with a
I
warhammer?
don't know.
You did roll a 1.
That is true.
You rolled a 1, and I was playing as the GM. And then
You've
I'm
done 2.
trying to think of a third one, because really those are my main 2 that I try to avoid. And I guess a third one might be think about the NPCs. Think about the characters that you can have around the players, and don't just throw someone that's just going to obviously tell them the clues. They've got to have a bit of depth to them, or else it just becomes a bit crap.
That's what I really liked about the most recent one we did with you, Guy, because you You added a lot of really interesting NPCs.
I think
With all the different
NPCs can
roles.
make a game. Certainly for the role-playing style. Like 4th edition, NPCs are really just go in this direction. Here's some gold. But if you went back to like 3.5, then NPCs were almost paramount to a story because they actually gave a lot of depth. You had to really talk to them, and generally the DMs they really thought about them a lot.
Well, it depends on the DM. You get some bad ones who are just kind of like, yeah, you succeed in your charisma roll, he tells you what you need to know.
Yeah.
Then you get the good ones who basically they will act out the scene and they'll tell you the hint in character, and that's just so much fun. I remember one game we played. My character, he was a church-sponsored assassin.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to talk to a priest who I'd just done a job for, and we had this lovely, very, very veiled conversation about another priest who was going to go up for a bishop's post somewhere, but he didn't really feel he was the best candidate for the role, and I sympathized. And then we spoke about my holiday plans, and we both agreed, without saying it out loud at all, yes, I'm going to go kill him for you. We didn't say it at all. And it was so much fun just to be so... It's really great with this DM. He's really good at that.
I think it is a huge... It's more who you play with. If you're like with Magnus, with your friends, if they're there just to play, they're playing D&D, but they want to just batter everything.
Yeah.
Then 4th edition is ideal for them because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
But if you actually
It's an MMORPG on paper.
You need to think about it a bit more.
Yeah.
The games that I traditionally run, the characters have 4 stats and 3 skills. That's it.
We're going to try that. We've got plans to to try one of these. So I'm excited.
It's a very open system. It's narrative-based combat, narrative-based everything.
Wait, is this the one that you said we should do?
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
you kind of say what your character wants to do with a bit of theatricality to it. If you give me cool details that I can use, great, I'll use them. If you just say, I hit him, then it'll be something dull. And it's just, we really try that. I mean, if I'm giving, as good advice, guy, if I'm giving any advice for any DMs, it's make a world, not just a single place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my brother's done. He did a
I
really
remember
good job.
preparing for like our games. I spend weeks writing down notes. I'm constantly trying to reference as much content. I go from like the R.A. Salvatore books to the manuals and online, and I really try and I throw myself into it.
Yeah.
That's right. Have you watched the Acquisition Incorporated videos?
Yeah.
There's Do you know who Chris Perkins is? He's like one of the lead dungeon masters of Wizards of the Coast, pretty much.
It mentioned him.
But pretty much he did this campaign with these 3 guys, and they're all big D&D fans, pretty much, and they made their own little like company called Acquisitions Incorporated, and pretty much they're trying to find adventurers and making guilds and stuff to like help fair maidens across the land, and pretty much making like a world community of D&D players, kind of. And pretty much they just add these random people to test them out if they're like fit enough to work with them, like within the top of the leaderboard, I guess, of the incorporation.
Yeah.
And it's just amusing because you really see how, like, when people who have played D&D for many years and dungeon masters who really know what they're doing, it's really fun to watch them go through the scenarios and the different things they come up with.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call myself an expert. I've only actually been running games for about 2 years now. But the setting that I use for most of my games is basically a setting I know the entire history of.
Yeah.
Like, you dump me in a random city, I'll tell you who lives there, why they're important, and how they're going to screw you over.
Yeah, you do like having people screwing people over, like just messing with their lives, like, oh.
I've noticed one thing I like to do, this is probably not the best thing, I love having NPCs who are so much above your power level that they could eat you. I love having them floating around in the background, just in case you guys decide to really break my game.
That's why I'm debating whether or
punish
not I
you.
want to play this game, because you won't be nice.
Nah, it's okay. I'm fair to people. There was one game I ran. Let's put it this way: the traditional thing, you've got to rob a temple. That was what their first mission was. And
Okay.
if they'd gone in guns blazing, they would have died instantly. Because there were like 12 guys in there. One-on-one, it's a fair fight with the character. They were outnumbered 3-1.
Okay. No, that's clever.
So, they were clever about it. And they realized they'd have to be clever. And that was just a lot of fun. If I was going to give one more piece of advice, apart from build a whole world, it's make sure there's more than one way for you guys to succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like a plan B.
You can even change the storyline halfway through to encompass what's happening.
Oh yeah, I've done that. I mean, there was one moment in the most recent one I ran where one of the important characters, one of the players, he wasn't there. So I had the other 3 guys, they did a side story with 3 other characters, and then the next week when the guy came back, those 3 characters they were NPCs the characters now used. And it was critical to the resolution of the story.
Yeah.
Just completely bent everything based on a side mission.
Sweet.
Yeah, and D&D again. It's the role playing kind of world. Is that it's got to be adaptable. It's got to be fluent. I think that's one of the hardest things as a DM is actually making sure everything is coherent. Sometimes you want to throw random crap at the players just to annoy them, but then you just got to hold back a little bit and think, does it actually fit in with everything else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I like having these powerful NPCs out there. Again, I do not do this. They do something you just like drop NPC and have them eat the players. That is not good. Rocks fall, everyone dies is not a fun thing for anyone. But let's say your characters are, I don't know, going up against the church. Have them, if they're going the wrong direction or they're doing something that makes no sense for the characters they've described, have them come up against a stone wall. Like the character who can take them in a fight, but who doesn't kill them, just kind of, knocks them back a bit and forces your players to be creative.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the episode. Magnus, briefly we'll finish up with some amusing scenarios. What's one of the most amusing scenarios that you've been a part of?
Do you mean in all of D&D history, or in one?
All of
my
gaming.
D&D history, or just our games?
Anything.
Ooh, you didn't warn me about this. Put me on the spot now.
If you want a minute, I remember mine.
Okay, Peter, you go first.
Okay. So the setting is 1900s London. Jack the Ripper is out, and the rest of us, we're investigating the crimes. And me and one of the other players, he's French, I'm Chinese. He's a kind of like French detective. I'm a Chinese cop who secretly runs the underworld there. And we kidnap the Prince of Wales.
Fair play.
My
After
hand
I
slipped.
kick him in the head, but that's not the best bit. The best bit is we pump him so full of drugs after we've interrogated him and everything else that when we drop him off, he's convinced that we've saved his life.
Oh, fair play, well done.
I don't know how we pulled that one off. But yeah, we kidnapped him in our Zeppelin, tortured him for a day, drugged him up, and then convinced him that we'd rescued him from an assassin and just saved his life. And then dump him off, and then we realized, yeah, we got like 2 days before he remembers the truth. Let's hurry up, shall we?
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, well done. Magnus, have you thought of yours?
I've got a
The reason
few.
why it's the best. Can I just say this last bit?
Yeah.
Just the DM's face, because we meet the Prince of Wales in a shop, somewhere like that, and the other player nods at me, and I turn to the DM and say, I kicked the Prince of Wales in the head. And just the DM's face when that happened, he was just like, you what?
You're messing my game.
I
Wow.
want to see where this goes now.
Wow.
That does
That
sound like
moment where you make the DM just kind of go, you do what? It's horrible being on the other end of that, but when you make it happen, it's so much fun.
I think that it's kind of like the Green Lantern. If you don't have a good imagination, you will not enjoy RPGs. Because half of it is you fulfilling your character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrecked my voice in one session because my character had a deep and croaky voice. And I was like this the whole time. I regretted that decision.
I bet your throat must have been ripped apart for the next couple of days.
I wish you did a
I
speech
didn't have to fake
in
the
that.
voice after that. So Magnus.
Okay, so I've got a few. So there was one where, my D&D group with my friends is a dwarf fighter, dragonborn warlord, half-orc druid, gnome bard. I'm the Eladrin wizard mage.
An Eldarin wizard? That's
Yeah.
strange.
So weird. Who had a gambling problem, mind you, and a tiefling warlock, and pretty much the dwarf. He's probably the only one that was doing role playing other than me, and pretty much he played a perfect dwarf. Anything he believed he could solve anything with his axe, and pretty much he realized that he had one of the coolest abilities, which is cleave, where you deal damage to two people. And there's one time where he was in the perfect position to wipe out like two really strong enemies, and he rolled a 2 with his cleave. And pretty much my brother decided if it was a 2, because it wasn't as bad as a 1, so a 2 would go towards your allies and a 1 would go towards you. But pretty much he rolled a 2, which meant he cleaved the 2 people behind him, which were the 2 squishiest people, the gnome bard and the Eladrin wizard, and he one-shot us both. So we were both on the floor, close to death. And pretty much he was just there like, I'll cleave again next time, hopefully I'll roll higher.
Flip.
Yeah. And
The
pretty much
critical failure.
And then the next combat, because the dwarf pretty much he obviously played the person who would always go for the fair maidens. There's pretty much a waitress of sorts, a bar maiden, and pretty much like he heard a scream like down the stairs from the inn, because we were like we had like huge rats, like massive ones, and like kobolds taking over the tavern, and pretty much like we spent a whole time talking to the barmaid, and she's like, don't worry, I put a trap on the stairs, and she spent half an hour talking about this trap. What does this dwarf do? He forgets about the trap, charges down the stairs, knocks himself prone, takes half his health, and pretty much he's just there like, don't worry, I'll still find the maiden and save her. Turns out it was...
save you! Was he has a bear trap trapped around his leg?
Pretty much. And then when he went down the stairs, it turned out that he was actually a guy who was terrified of rats, who'd squealed like a girl and fainted on the table. So he got really angry. And in the same... It was so funny. But then in the same combat, our Dragonborn rolled a 20 when he was hitting a rat. So he played golf with his falchion on this rat, and he was able to split it in half just as he hit it, and it killed 2 of the rats. So it went kind of in a Y arc and killed 2 of the rats, which is quite...
I'm now picturing this 7.5 foot tall Dragonborn having cleaved a rat in 2, just screaming, "Are you not entertained?"
Yeah. It was like he wants to try and be like really strange Dragonborn, so he was this massive, like, I can't remember if he was 8 or 7 foot. he was like,
Ouch.
he did so he was like a really disgustingly large Dragonborn, and then he was like, he had black scales, so he was just this massive hulking form with this like huge falchion. But the worst was when
Tiny little rat.
he rolled a 3, and my brother was like, man, that falchion's gone through so much, I'm going to do so the falchion snaps. And pretty much the Dragonborn got annoyed, but luckily he had a dagger, so like this Dragonborn for like half of this campaign we were doing for that day, he was running around with this measly little dagger just like poking stuff. But then probably the funniest was when my brother decided he got really annoyed with pretty much how much we were just about scraping out of encounters, and he did so like, I'm not sure if it would be a flock or a pack or I don't know, but like a huge group of owlbears trapped us in a cave.
Ooh.
Half of them were asleep, but then he did so there were like stalactites which had like holes in them, and people were put in them, like stored pretty much by the owlbears. And he did so there were like 12 of them, and the only one who wasn't in them was our druid, because he always runs off. But when he sees a bad combat, he runs, and pretty much he decided he'd follow them and try save us, and pretty much so 5 out of 12 are humans, or well, not humans, but the adventurers, and then the others are all goblins. And pretty much he was able to get like half of us out, but then like he started getting all the goblins, and they would make like screaming sounds which would wake the owlbear, so half of us are still stuck up in there, but then the goblins would run out, and then like the Dragonborn was strong enough to use 2 of them as bait for the owlbear, which kept him busy. But pretty much I don't know how he escaped, and oh yeah, I remember throughout the story there was the druid, he rolled a 20 at one point, and a bat my brother's like, a huge bat out of nowhere just comes and becomes your friend and like eats half of the rats. And then pretty much he every time the druid has rolled a 20, my brother's been kind enough and like he's brought in the bat no matter what. So like out of nowhere this bat just swoops in, saves half of us, and then goes out. And then the bard is like, I hold a grudge against these owlbears, so we're level 4 against these owlbears, and he's a bard, and he decides he wants to try and take one on. So in other words, he doesn't have any arms. No, he's missing an arm at the moment and an eye.
As you do.
Yeah, so he can't, as a gnome, the only weapon he can use is a dagger, because you need 2 hands to use a one-handed.
Yeah, because
he can't use his normal weapons just because
he only has the one arm.
He only has one hand, yeah.
Nice.
So our bard now sucks. He can't even use his bow. That's the worst part, and that was his key, or his instrument even. He can't even use his banjo.
Although I'm reminded of one time, this was in a 4th edition game. We were level 1, but we were clever in building our characters. Long story short, our paladin had a plus 13 to her charisma rolls. We were attacked by a group of rat men. She rolled. Long story short, 2 minutes later, they're working for us.
Oh my!
Wow.
Yeah, she rolled like 2 20s in a row on those scores. The end was just like, how are you doing? Okay, fine, they work for you. Whatever.
Do you know what I find incredible? Is when you roll a d20 for an initiative roll with a wizard. Because I'd improved initiative and all these bonuses, so pretty much I had initiative of like 28.
I'm going first anyway, no matter what I roll.
But sometimes if you're the crazy powerful character who goes last, everyone's getting their asses kicked, and then you step in and it's just like, boom!
Indeed.
Worth it.
You shall not pass!
I still think that would be cool to do, like somewhat of a Fellowship of the Ring. Just the build of those characters. So you'd only have 1 halfling. You wouldn't have 4, but just 1. And then you'd have a wizard. You'd have a ranger. 2 rangers.
Yeah, you know the 40k company, Games Workshop.
Yeah.
They did their Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah.
I wanted. You can play a campaign of the Fellowship's campaign.
Yeah, you
It
can.
had a map for how to do that with all the scenarios in it.
It was
But you
amazing.
could do it with a modified Fellowship. And I thought, you know what? Let's have no limit. The most powerful characters possible do this campaign. Let's see what happens.
Uh-oh.
So instead of it being Pippin and Merry attack the Uruk-hai, it's Dane, Ironfoot, and Elrond. Things go a little differently when that happens.
Run, Frodo! We'll kill them all on their own. Don't worry.
It's like, oh, Elrond. Let's just have the White Council there in the Fellowship.
No, it was Saruman and Gandalf tag teaming to take on one of the Nazgul, and it's just like, this isn't fair anymore. The one time with the Fellowship that was put together for this, like, you had like Elendil, you had Isildur, you had all the crazy powerful characters. The Balrog steps up, and rather than going, oh crap, it's a Balrog, it's more like, round 2.
Let's take him.
Let's go.
Knuckles cracking. This will be fun.
Gandalf, you shall not pass.
You stay there. We'll deal with him.
We'll take this guy. Let's go.
High five! We found a Balrog.
Yeah. Oh man. Just how great would it be to play a D&D style campaign of the Silmarillion?
Armies of Balrogs.
Yeah, but Golfin going up against those dudes. This is a guy who looks at a Balrog and he goes, "Alright, I suppose I can do my warm-up." Or you've got, not Fëanor. Was it Fingolfin who went up against Morgoth?
Who what?
I think it was. The guy who looks at basically the god of evil and death, who's plunged the world into darkness, and he goes, I can take him. And you know what? He almost did.
But sadly, it was Morgoth, so...
Yeah, well, he wasn't going to win that fight, but how did he not do it? The fact he wasn't instantly paced.
My favorite
explains why when Glorfindel, who was a Silmarillion elf, shows up, the Nazgul go, screw that, we're going somewhere else. We ain't taking this guy. This guy fights Balrogs, man. He's not. No, we don't fight Glorfindel ever.
No, Glorfindel was pretty intense. I also my favorite character in the Silmarillion is the Dark Elf. I forgot his name. Is it
I know
Eol?
who you mean. Sorry?
Eol, the elf with the black armor.
I know exactly who you mean there. Was it Eeyore? He's the one who kidnaps / marries his sister, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
He ends up killing his best friend.
Yeah, he had problems.
Yeah, I think that was what was fun about him, because he was an elf, but he was messed up.
Yeah, although it's pretty hard to top Beren.
Yeah, well, it's like
Sass is the king of the elves, the most powerful kingdom, and he's just like, you wanted me to get a Silmaril? It's in my hand. It's like, oh great, where's your hand? In the mouth of a werewolf. Yeah, we have an issue with that one.
Okay, anyway, we've gone on for quite a bit now.
That's alright. I'm gonna have to go anyway. But we've got this video's about to go up. We've got a couple of blog posts that have gone up, so check out our blog, check out our Twitter feed, our Facebook, and we will keep updating with it. We've got a couple more projects that we want to start, and I've had a really fun time this episode. I like
I have as well.
About RPGs.
Yeah. So guys, if you've got any stories about stupid, crazy, or absurd things you've done in any games, come on, tell us. Everyone loves to share that story about the one time they rolled that perfect 20, or the time that you go up against the rat and you critically fail and accidentally brain your companion in the face.
Yeah, or two of them.
Okay. So
or shoot them with lightning.
I had one game of Inquisitor. I used to play Inquisitor as an RPG. So for everyone that doesn't know, Inquisitor was the skirmish version of Warhammer 40k.
Really detailed. I mean, you could decide to shoot your opponent in the left leg or the right arm. That detailed.
It was really like and exactly for that reason, I didn't have the money as a young teenager to get hold of the figurines because they were super expensive. But I used to play with a couple of friends, and we used to run it as an RPG. We had a scenario where I was an Eldar Farseer. I had a...
Oh, it's this one.
This one. There were a couple of guards with me, and we basically had to get from point A to point B without being caught. The problem was we had a Calexus assassin on our heels.
That's nothing.
So not only the fact that she negated all of my psychic abilities, we buffed her out with some combat drugs, and we were doing okay. We avoided her quite well until the very end of the game, and she turned around, and she got her combat drugs perfectly because she got the increased strength, and then rolled a 20 on attacking. Well, it's a 100, so she rolled the 100. She got over 80, and with her stims, and had like double strength for 3 turns.
Ow!
She then grabbed hold of one of my guards, ripped off his arms, and beat me to death with those arms.
She beat you to death with your bodyguard's arms?
Yes.
Well played.
That works.
It was because she.
So what? You're lying down there staring up and going, "You win this round."
Basically, just walks away into the darkness, holding these arms and a bloodied Farseer corpse. And then my other fun, very interesting experience. I was a gnome monk, and I picked up a twig, or what I thought was a twig, and I knew something was wrong because I had no magical abilities really because I'm a monk. So I picked it up, and immediately the DM asked me, "Which end of the twig did you pick it up at?"
Ooh, that's never
from that second, I knew there was something wrong.
Yeah, actually, another tip for DMs. Sometimes, for no good reason, ask your characters how they do something. Because the paranoia that you get after that, like, oh, you open the door. How do you open it? Do you push the top or the bottom? You see their expression as they're like, wait, what? That's important?
Oh, crap!
Introduce us!
But then, throughout, I kept hold of this twig, and I held it. It was thick at one end, and it went thin at the other end. And I held it by the thick end. And he was like, "Okay, that's fine." And I was extremely paranoid. And then a couple of my companions, we were playing in. I think we actually had 8 players, so it was huge. One of them got possessed, started attacking another couple of members of the party, and it came round to my turn, and I thought, I'm going to spice things up. I pull out the twig, and I pointed at my companions, and then suddenly the DM says, "Okay, roll 3 d20." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I rolled 3 d20. I got a very high score. I thought, yeah, I'm doing pretty well. And then he multiplied it by 3. And he'd basically given me, or I had picked up, a level 25 fire wand. I instantly turned all three members of the party into ash.
Good job.
And then the paladin came over to me, smashed me in the face, killed me, and took my wand.
I have no idea why, but that reminds me of a time they were facing goblin archers who, absolutely suck. I needed to roll like 18s to hit the players. Every roll I rolled with these guys was either a 2 or a 20. One of them, he kept rolling 2s. The other one, nothing but 20s. He was like a sniper.
That's incredible.
The guys were like, "What the hell?"
He got me right in the eye.
It's like, how? This is 4th edition D&D, so, a critical success isn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
But still.
But it's not overpowered like in the old editions.
Yeah. But you've got like the rogue who's like, woman, please. I've got an AC of 27 right now. I'm indestructible. I'm right in the eye.
Oh my! The fun. It seems like most of the stories we remember are of the failures that happen.
I was DMing. I was succeeding there.
You were, but you were inflicting a lot of pain on your players.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. Although, in the most recent game, the most fun thing that happened. To put it in context, we're trying to exorcise a demon from a house. Well, a spirit. She's really pissed off my character by this point. I've been possessed by her husband. Long story.
Yeah.
So, whilst one of the other characters on the other side of the house, so my character wouldn't know this is happening, is really trying to be calmly, soothing, speak to her nicely. My character by this point doesn't know this. I know it, but my character doesn't. So I stroll into the middle of the house and just scream, "Oi, bitch! What the hell do you think you're doing to me?" This did not end well. Short version,
Your eyes.
she set me on fire.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Ooh,
This was not good for me.
used to have one member of my party, and he was a bit of a. I don't really know what the kindest word to use was, but he went around and we were in a dungeon area, and he found he was a gnome, she was a fairy, she was asleep, and he thought the obvious thing to do was to go over and try and make a move on her. He jumps on top, she turns into a demigod and fries him.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Although it is sometimes quite funny where, like, you've had this before where your guys are like the equivalent of level 15 characters, and level 2 bandits attack you, and they're, talking tough. They're all just like, "We're gonna rip you up," and you just look at them just like, seriously. I'm standing here. I'm 6.5 feet tall, and I'm wearing armor made from the skin of the dragon that we just killed. You think you could take me? And then the guy goes, "Yeah." Of course, it turns out that they're the children of some very local and important nobles who have an army to send after you, so you shouldn't have killed them, but in our defense, they started it.
Yeah. It's the consequences.
Yeah. Again, that's something I love doing. I mean, like, clearly this was not an encounter that we were ever going to lose, but we just killed them anyway. And then we had an army after us.
It's just easier.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a really fun time today.
Yes, we have.
We will be on. We'll get back into a sense of regularity and get it.
Probably by September.
All I'm saying is, if you get to the end of this video, well done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be a long video, or it will be.
But we'll get some more stuff onto our blog, and as always, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Goodbye.
This was Geek Ed. Thank you ever so much. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, Geek